Check all your cross members on the bottom of it. Each one of these are your cross members. Check every last one of them. Then we're gonna come to our left side marker light. This is our driver's side. It's amber in color. 3 functions: running, turning, and 4-way flashing. Make sure it's properly mount secured. Make sure the wires are not frayed or damaged in any way. Back here in the back, make sure they're not damaged, free of any tape, of anything. Now we're gonna come to the bottom of the trailer. All right? And here we have our retainer spring. Our retainer spring, make sure it's not cracked or damaged in any way, bent or broken. Make sure it's properly mount secured. It's holding up our airline. This is our airlines. We have 2 of them. Our service and our emergency. Make sure the hoses have no abrasions, bumps, or cuts to dry rotting. They need to be at least 18 inches from the ground, okay? Up there at the front of the hoses of the catwalk. On the catwalk, you want to make sure it has the retaining spring is holding up your airlines 12 inches from the catwalk, okay, on your airlines up there. Back here it's 18 inches from the ground. You want to make sure it has clearance just as well as your axle right here. All right, this right here is your sliding. This is your sliding rail. This is your sliding rail, okay? And your locking pin, I want y'all to see that. Can y'all see that locking pin right there? That's the locking pin in your sliding rail. This right here is your release arm, okay? This right here is your cradle. This whole thing sits in the cradle, all right? This is your cradle. This is your cross member right here. Just want y'all to identify, this is your cross member. Back here, these dual axles are called your tandems. Make sure your tandem sits in the cradle, okay? All right, these airlines are connected to this air tank right here. You wanna make sure your air tank is free of any legal welds, not cracked, bent, or broken, or damaged. Make sure the hoses that's coming to the air tank have no abrasions, bumps, or cuts, or dry rotting. Make sure they're not leaking, all right? These airlines are connected to your brake chambers. This is your dual brake chamber. You wanna make sure your dual brake chamber is not leaking. Make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken in any way. It's connected to the S-cam bracket as well. All right? This is your S-cam bracket. It's connected to your S-cam bracket. It has a push rod and slack adjuster connected with a clevis pin and Carter key. No more than 1 inch of play with the brakes release, along with this as well. Okay? Here is your control arm. This is your control arm right here, connected with U-bolts. All right? These U-bolts connected to this axle right here. All your control arms or your leaf spring is going to be connected to your axle all the time. It's always connected to your axle. All right, and they're going to be connected with U-bolts. All right, make sure all nuts and bolts are present and tight. No no free of any illegal welds. Make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken. Here we also have a torsion bar. This is your torsion or torque bar on both sides. Make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure all nuts and bolts are properly mounted and secured. All right. Make sure your bushings on your bolts and your torsion bar, make sure it has no abrasion, bumps, or cuts, or dry rotting. Make sure it's properly mounted secured. All right. Here you have your torsion bar right here as well. It goes across right here. That's your torsion bar. It's properly mounted secured, man. Cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure all the nuts and bolts are present and tight. All right. Here you have your shock. This is your shock. Make sure your shock on your upper mount and your lower mount on your shock right here have no abrasion, bumps, or cuts, or dry rotting. Make sure all nuts and bolts are present and tight. Here's your airbag. Make sure your airbag is properly mounted secured. No abrasions, bumps, or cuts, or dry rotting. Make sure it's not torn or damaged. Make sure it's not leaking. Make sure all nuts and bolts are there. Now you're gonna go again. You're gonna go with your drum. Make sure your drum is free of any illegal welds, not cracked, bent, or broken, or damaged in any way. Make sure it's properly mounted secured. No more than 1 inch of heat stretch. On your brake drum or your brake shoes, you want to make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken, or damaged in any way. On your brake pads right here, you want to make sure you have at least 1/4 or 1/4 of thickness. Anything less than that, you have to change your brake pads out. Again, we're going to check the inside of our rims on both sides of the vehicle, but we're just on the driver's side on your test. You want to check the inside of your rim as well as the outside of your rim. Make sure it's properly mounted secured. On the inside, you want to make sure you have 0 spacing on your rims, and in between your dual tires, you want to make sure you have at least 3 inches of spacing on your dual tires. Anything less than that indicates a low tire pressure or a flat tire. On your tires, on the inside and your outside of your tires, and on the top of your tires, make sure there's no abrasion, bumps, and cuts, and dry rotting. Make sure it's evenly worn across the top. No less than 2 30 seconds on tire depth. These can be retread or regroupable tires. Make sure they're at least 100 PSI or to factory specs on these tires back here. Now we're gonna go to the outside of our vehicle. And we wanna make sure our tires are properly seated and beaded to the rims on both arms. Like I said, you wanna make sure it's free of any illegal welds on the inside of your rim and the outside of your rim on both rims. Make sure all the lug nuts are pressing and tight, free of any shiny metal or rust that indicates looseness. Make sure they're all there. All right, then we're gonna check out, this is our hub seal. Wanna make sure it's not leaking, make sure it's properly mounted secured. And we're gonna check our valve stem on both. Here's our valve stem right here, and we got a valve stem on the other rim. We wanna make sure the caps are present and tight, and make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken, or damaged in any way. Now this is your tag tandem. You would check your tag tandem, and you just showing you on your front tandem, and you move to the back. Here we have our mud flap. Make sure our mud flap is between 2 to 8 inches from the ground as well. Make sure your hanger is nice and tight, properly mounted, secured, and welded on. Here you have your DOT tape on the back of your mud flap. You want to make sure all nuts and bolts are present and tight. Make sure your mud flap has no abrasive bumps or cuts or dry rotted. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured. If your mud flap is torn, you need to replace it. Here we have our marker light. This is just showing you the tail end of the tractor if you can't see it at night. It just illumines. It don't. The only function that it has is it just illuminates at night so you can know how far to back up to the dock or anything like that or make your turns.